Hi everybody, I'm Nicolai Tangen, the CEO of the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, and today I'm in really good company in the fast lane actually with the motorsport legends Stefano Domenicali. Stefano is the president and CEO of Formula One. Great, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nicolai, and thanks to all our fans and supporters, and above all, maybe new people that they don't have a clue who I am. That's great, so we can connect with them.
Absolutely. Now, Stefano, first of all, is Formula One a sport or a TV show?
Well, it's definitely a sport, but of course, when you're talking about TV show, I need to understand what you think as a TV show. Is a negative approach or a positive comment? I would say what is definitely different from the past is F1 is listening what is all around the world. So we definitely need to understand what are the ingredients to be relevant in the world of, I said, entertainment. Because sport is a part of what I believe a bigger picture, what an entertainment platform should be. And we are definitely that. It's an entertainment platform where we have at the center, of course, the sporting challenge, the sporting fight on the track with the drivers who are for us the jewel of our sport, and the cars, which represent the technological aspect of us. But today, F1 is not only about it. It's about having people gathering together, having people that have the chance to have fun, enjoy, and given the chance to other opportunities like business development for partners, or having the chance for everyone to connect with what we can offer to make sure that in a sort of situation where you can choose a lot of things, you can be attracted of our menu.
And your menu is incredible just now. So how has the fan base changed? What's the fan base now?
Well, the fan base has changed definitely in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The fan base has changed because before we were very avid fans, male 90%, quite old in terms of age. Of course, we have worldwide, so it has to be a sort of average of what we are talking about. Now we are getting younger and younger, which a much diverse population. New market, for example, we are 40% women, 60% men, 35 years of age. So we are getting in that landscape. And as we said, different culture, different sensitivities, different approach to the sport, but with one common ground, and that's where we need to make sure that everyone is sitting in.
How do you, when you look at your venues, you are now at 24 races a season. How do you balance the kind of the historic venues with the newer ones? Well,
first of all, for me, it has to be clear one thing: historical is a value, if means that there are great foundation related to our sport. If historical means old, is not anymore historical. Is looking in the past. Therefore, what I think is relatively important for us is to make sure that the races and the countries that has been part of our history with the will to keep investing in the future will be vital to stay in our calendar. And this will happen.
And 24 is max?
24 is a max number today.
Do you think it's a bit high even? Or
No, I don't think so. And I tell you why. I mean, there are a lot of polarized position on that. First of all, I go back to what we need to be in terms of relevancy. I said to my people, we are not here to compete against other sport platforms. We are here to compete with movies, with music, with events, with other things that are in the agenda of our fans. Our life is really a sort of, and this is very close to F1 approach, in a sort of quick speed action, needs of seeing new things, otherwise you get old and not relevant. Therefore, I go back to the fact that we have not a lot of content. If you think we have 24 races, 20 drivers, can you imagine if you have to be competitive in the world of creating the right news with sport when they have 100 games, when sport when they have hundreds of athletes? We need to find the right relevancy on that. Therefore, it's more complicated than ever. Therefore, I don't think the 24 are
Do you think
too
you
much.
drop some to introduce some new countries?
Well, yes, for sure. Or we are thinking also to rotate some places in a sort of a possibility to give chances to come and go in a sort of...
What are some of the new places you would love to do?
Well, we are thinking, first of all, let me do one thing that is important to state. We have we are very healthy today because we have a long-term agreement with a lot of partners.
Yeah.
Therefore, the slot to be able to jump into the calendar are very minimal. Therefore, we need to, first of all, keep the intensity of pushing the actual one to keep increasing the quality of the offer that we want to give to our fans. In terms of new markets, I would say that we have done a big jump in US. We were one races just 3 years ago, now we have 3. I think that one relevant area to control or to see what we can do in the future is the Far East Asia. And of course, one area that we want to monitor is Africa, because it's the only continent that is not there in the championship. But before getting there, we need to make sure that there are the right conditions in a long-term structure. So these are the places. If you think back, we have been always a world championship, but we were Europe-centric. We were having the majority of races in Europe. Now we have basically a very, very clear way of dividing our calendar in zone, in area where now we are really very balanced on that. But as I said, the focus is to stay, to check if there are new opportunities that are coming in. We have options for sure. So we are in a sort of qualitative situation where we can choose and make sure that the decision is right.
Is there a trade-off between entertainment factor and safety concerns in this sport?
Well, safety has been always at the center. We don't want to jeopardize or to minimize at all the approach on safety. Safety remain as a sort of fundamental pillars of a sport that, in any case, as is written in all our passes, motorsport is definitely dangerous. But what I have to say that the turning moment of what has happened in the past has been the accident in '94 when Senna and other drivers, Ratzenberger, died in a very tragic event. From that moment, the FIA did an massive step versus safety. And we need to recognize that because, of course, we had other tragedies later on, but very minimal. And our duty is not to give any kind of sort of excuses to that, because that will stay always at the center. And by the way, safety doesn't mean that you cannot have a proper championship in terms of action, in terms of drama on the track. That is a different story, but that will not be not negotiable.
Now, you have some regulatory changes, partly to increase drama, right? Or the competitive spirit of it. Now, how do you think these regulation changes will change the sport?
Well, I think that first of all, there is always the reason why there is a change on the regulation. There is mainly there are two factors. One is to stay relevant in terms of technological opportunity that we as a sport need to keep at the center of our project. Secondly, of course, the other thing that has been done in the past is to make sure there was a sort of reshuffling in terms of keeping the sport at the interest. That is not the case for this year.
Reshuffling of the teams and technology.
So, yeah, correct.
If you got like a supercar, you change regulations, so then that car is less good next season.
Well, could be that they have other could have a chance to recatch up, but that's not the case of next year. Sorry, because if you think and if you look today, the gaps between the cars is so minimal, never been so close, that the reason why there's been a change decided a couple of years ago is because we want to keep the relevancy of the sustainable fuel and the hybridization at the center of the technological package. So that was the reason why we have the change. Therefore, what I'm expecting this year, there will be for sure something that will have an effect on the fact that some teams and or manufacturer has been able to develop better the new regulation if you compare with the others. That means that we can have bigger gaps, but the regulation is tied up in a way that if this will be the case, there will be less time for the others to catch up. So that's very important to keep it clear. So
with the regulations coming in for next year, for instance, what do you think will be the result in terms of the sport?
The result of the sport will be, we will see who has developed better their understanding of the new regulation. I think that as always, because that's history that shows that, there will be teams that will be stronger than others. And the only thing that is different is that we have put in place a system that will enable, if this will be the case, for the others to catch up as quickly as possible, to make sure that we can have, as today, a championship with the gaps that are very, very marginal, and a fight between different teams and different drivers.
So closer racing, easier to overtake?
Yes, that's always the principle of what we want to do, to achieve in a different way, but that's of course very important for us.
What about the aerodynamic changes?
The aerodynamic changes are connected to the different way of using the power unit, because the power unit next year will be 50% deployment electric power and 50% deployment of traditional and thermal power. Therefore, in order to adjust the complexity of this, the cars will be different in terms of aerodynamics, in terms of management of the different surfaces that you can activate. And this is something that will be incredible, because we will have given, as always, the chance to the engineers of a team that are the best in the world to develop and to see what they can come as a sort of solution to be to allow their team to be faster than the others.
Historically, we've seen a lot of the advances here moving into the mass market eventually. What are some of the things you are seeing now which could move into the mass market?
Well, definitely what is relevant for the future is the sustainable fuel.
Yeah.
And this is not really the place to talk about right or wrong. It's clear that on the mobility side, there has been a shift versus full electrification that cannot be seen as the only answer to the world of mobility, because it's too complicated, too complex. Sustainable fuel that today is very, very expensive should and will, thanks to Formula One development, be able to be another solution on the portfolio of the offer that the manufacturer will give to the different customers around the world. And that's very, very relevant.
But the fuel is a small part of the carbon footprint, right?
Absolutely.
And you have some goals here for Formula One.
Yes, I mean, the fuel that we burn on the track is very marginal. If you look, we have two main sources of our footprint of carbon emission. One is our logistics, because we are a world championship and we cannot stop traveling. Therefore, for example, already this year, we are working together with our partners to use a sustainable aviation fuel that is very expensive, but is already a step in the right direction to minimize it. The other logistics are already using a system of transport that are minimizing the carbon footprint. And then, of course, the other big step that is we are working to be even stronger is how we work with the promoters. When we are hosting events with 400,000 people gathering together, you can imagine the complexity of having the right energy, the right quality of material to be used. So it's a huge project that is involved with all the ecosystem of Formula One to try to understand that this is not a joke. This is a very important element of our future, and therefore that's why we want to keep the target of being carbon neutral within 2030. It's a big task. No other sport in the world has taken that as a commitment, with facts, with the independent auditing that is monitoring what we're doing. So we have to say we are very proud of what we're doing.
Moving on to the drivers. Now, you got 20 drivers. How good are the current 20 drivers compared to history?
Difficult to compare because drivers has to be put in the context of the period, but for sure the drivers today are very, very competitive, very, very professional. This year, for the first time, we have 5 new young drivers that are coming into Formula One. That shows that
and doing well, right?
Are doing very, very well, and that's why we are very happy, because that means that the pyramid behind, that is Formula 2, Formula 3, are very strong. That means that we can have the future. And now, as you may have noticed, we have added into our pyramid the F1 Academy to make sure that in our diverse project that we want to, an inclusive project that we want to take on, also women to be in the future be able to be part of the F1 idea that is massive. So therefore, I think that the drivers are very, very strong, very, very good. Different personality. We don't want to have everyone the same. We want to make sure that everyone is different from each other, and able, through the way that we are able to communicate our social media, their social media, the new platform of communication that we are offering, to be a sort of role model that can inspire other people or other, lovers of our sport to be attracted to what we're doing.
What makes a good driver?
Makes a good driver, for sure. No need to say that you have to be quick. Yep. If you are not winning, you can talk a lot of good things, but you need to win. Yep. Therefore, results are very important. Of course, you need to understand that there is a bigger picture. Today is not only driving, is also understanding that F1 today is so big that you need to understand your public role, You're committed with the fans, with the customers, with the partners. You have a public face. You have to accept when you are driving in a Formula One. Otherwise, if you just want to drive without being disrespectful, if you want to do only mileage, you can be a great Uber driver, but that's what we don't need in Formula One.
Therefore, do you think there are faster drivers out there who don't have, because they don't have a personal face?
No, I think that F1 is a representative of the real picture, always the fastest. Of course, you cannot be a champion without a proper car, because you can be the best and you don't have the possibility to have a fast car. You're not showing the real quality, but that's life.
What does it take to be a really fast driver? What are the skill? What's the mental capabilities, the motoric?
Well, I think that let's assume that today, when you are in that arena of being a Formula One driver, you're given for granted the fact that you are a very good professional. You are very, very well fit. You understand the needs of being an F1 driver. What makes the difference really, in my opinion, of a pure championship is to be able to defragment the action that you are doing and the action of the car to maximize every single frame of the performance. So on your side, how to maximize? We're talking about the gaps of milliseconds. Can you imagine? It's nothing. So if you want to be the best, you need to slow down everything to try to see where you can improve and where you want for your car to be faster. That's the characteristic of the best driver. Understanding that even if, no matter if you're running at 300 or maybe more kilometers per hour, you're able to have everything under control to maximize your performance, the performance of your team, the performance of your car.
How important is the car?
Crucial. There's no doubt about it.
But how much is actually, if you put the best driver in the worst car of the 20, what would the results be?
There would not be the leader of the championship, for sure. I mean, he cannot make, if the gap of the car is too big, he will not make that jump.
And how big is the gap?
Well, today there are some cars that are behind, for sure. And the best driver you see when the gaps will become marginal. When you have difficult conditions, when you understand really what is able to make as a sort of call on his side, rather than the others are doing other stuff. So, as always, the good drivers you see in the extreme condition, but it's pretty clear that then you can talk with all the drivers in the world that if you don't have a good car as a base, you cannot be a champion. That's for sure.
And these the best drivers, are they more like fighter pilots, or are they like downhill skiers, or what? I know you're a good skier. I have heard some rumors.
It's always relative, but it's okay.
What is it most similar to?
Well, I think that is a combination of everything. In a way, if you are a Formula One driver, you need to be scared about something that is totally crazy, but in a way you are a little bit crazy because you will never run in the way that they're running. But the drivers of today are like the pilots of today. They are the ones that know how to maximize their performance and the performance of the vehicle that they have under their body. So they are great men. I mean, there are only 20 in the world, and everyone believes that I can do that. But when you're there, you will understand the reason why is not everyone ready for Formula One.
How important is physical fitness?
It is important, no doubt, but it's not like in the past. We have been able, through the development of the cars, to put out a lot of limitation in terms of physical constraint. Therefore, if you have a good athlete, of course, there are muscles that are more important, that are neck, that are the pressure that you can apply on the feet. But for example, today on the steering, there is the power steering. It's not anymore like in the old days, where you do really have the big muscle, or when you have the gearbox in the old days, that you have people with the blaster, with the what you call the blister on your hands. So that's different. But I would say they are all today great athletes, but great performance also when they train. They train every day, like really, because they are a really sportman.
And how hard do they work?
They work very hard. I would say.
What does a day look like?
I think that you see what is different from the old days.
Yeah.
In the old days, there were sort of a little bit romantic approach on driving, but today the morning is preparing themselves as a physical attitude in terms of preparation. Then they work on the simulator. then they work with the engineers, then they watch, the different video to improve themselves, to watch the others what they are doing, they prepare the new truck. So they are really professional today. There's no space for a lot of old-fashioned approach of the drivers where, like a sort of a playboy and so on. That may be another point that is still there, but is very marginal.
Is it fair that one company can have multiple teams?
It is fair to say that, actually, in Formula One, there is one company that has two teams, but there is a reason why. And we need to always remember the reason why, and we need to be thankful to Red Bull that has invested a lot to develop the sport, and we need to recognize that.
Now, what's your position to allowing new teams, such as Cadillac, to join?
Well, my position is very clear. We were in agreement to allow one more team to be part of the championship because we had all the elements at the end that we fulfilled what we believe is really important to have in terms of credibility, in terms of what could be and will be the added value to the sport, and Cadillac at the end of the process basically fulfilled these criteria. So we are very happy that now they will be starting from next year, to be part of the championship. It will not be easy, but I think that is a learning curve that they need to consider, but I think that will benefit the sport.
Now, you have a regulatory body, the FIA, which very few sports have. What's the relationship between the FIA and the F1?
Well, first of all, the difference between our sport and other sport is that we have two different complementary roles to play together. They are the regulator, we are the commercial right holder. Together, we need to develop the shape of our sport. It is written in our agreement that's been done many, many years ago, and this is a fundamental thing that we need to remember. Other sports have one federation and they run in everything. We are not like that. So we need to make sure that each of us is doing the right thing for the benefit of the sport, and that's for sure the goal that we have, sharing, despite we have different people, and hoping that our decisions are done for the best of our sport.
Now, you're already at the max number of races. You've been hugely successful in developing a lot of revenue streams. Just how do you intend to grow the revenues from here, the sport from here?
Well, I remember when we had the first earning calls a couple of years ago, because we are a public company, as you know, and everyone would say, how you can do it? I said, listen, just work hard and keep understanding that there is always place to grow. If you're doing a good job, that's the way we are going. I mean, it's just to think big, to understand it's not only a sport today, and understanding that we have, of course, mainstream that are media rights, sponsorship, promoter fees, but then we have the possibility to go deeper in exploiting the value of them, also through the access to the data of our fans. And that will enable us to do another step in terms of growth. And the business is growing.
How can you use the data?
We can use it to create personalized content that we can offer to our customer. We can prepare special package to all of them. There are millions around the world. Therefore, it's just for us to be ready to do it. And the more the system is solid, the more this create value, and the more this value will be bring back to the value of the asset that we are investing in. So if you just look, for example, a couple of years ago, we had 4 global partners. Now we have much more. We have to rationalize the differentiation between global, regional, technical, official, and that's a quality problem because, of course, this platform is raising up the level and the bar because everything is pushing in this direction.
So the Drive to Survive on Netflix, how important do you think that's been to developing?
Very important. Very important.
How did it come about?
It came about from the fact that the people that were previously close in this position with the Chase Carey, understanding the approach of having a different way to communicate with the people. They're coming from American approach, and I would say Drive to Survive was a perfect example that came also at the right time with COVID, for people to have more time to digest and see these kind of things that enable us to open new markets to people that didn't have a clue who we were, and therefore that was very beneficial for us to get into new dimension of fans. And it was good because it was opening the eyes to people that do not see us because, by the way, our drivers have gloves, overall, helmets, cars. You don't see them. So we were able to open the window to a different way of explaining our sport to new fans. So that was very important. Not only that, of course, then we had a new way of connecting with our fans through social media, much more open. I always used to say that we are very inclusive in our exclusive proposition, but then of course we are not stopping what we want to do. I mean, we're going to launch the movie F1 this year. That's another way to be on a different landscape for fans.
With Brad Pitt?
Yes, correct. We're going to launch it in the middle of June.
Do you have a role in it?
No. I'm not a role. the jewelers, the drivers, and of course the story is very nice. And the reason why we choose to be together is because it's an authentic project. With a serious, professional and incredible people, Apple Production, Jerry Bruckheimer, Hollywood, and Joe Kosinski as a director. And as you know, it's a big things that we were able to do it during the course of racing weekend without touching the live sport. So it's another way to show that we are committed to think laterally, and another way to communicate with other people is, for example, we created kids TV. So using the same kind of images, but with the commentators that are kids, with the graphics that are for kids, music for kids, just to be relevant for different audiences. That's what we want to do.
Does Drive to Survive amplify rivalries?
Yes, definitely. When you go to the personal side of it, you create the rivalries that are good for people to be attracted. Has to be real, of course, but that definitely so.
But is it real? Or
absolutely.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But do you think it exaggerates rivalries?
To be honest, I don't think so, knowing the truth. It may be explained in different languages, but the rivalry behind the scene is there. I mean, it's a sport. Everyone's trying to compete at his best. And certain dynamics are part of our world. So I think that overall, at the end of the day, we know that the context of that is also, if I may say, something that the true lovers of our sport do not really appreciate, but that's not really so relevant. The relevance is to make sure that this is as authentic as possible, and then relevant to the fact that we have increased the awareness of who we are around the world.
Moving on to leadership. So running Formula One, do you think that's the coolest job in Italy? Or for an Italian to have?
For sure, it's something that there will be a lot of people queuing up out of the office to have it, but that's not my problem. My problem is to make sure that I take that as a big responsibility. I'm very privileged, I know that, I'm very proud of it, but it's not given for granted because it's a big job. Yeah. And of course, as an Italian, that I was able to do, I would say more than 30 years in the world of cars, with Ferrari, then CEO of Lamborghini, then be here in Formula One. I know that it seems to be a sort of a incredible story, but it is what it is. The only thing I can guarantee to you that I have not lose any second of my energy, because I'm the first when I'm in the office, I'm the last to leave. I travel all around the world, so I don't feel that pain at all. So it's a privilege.
What advantage did it give you to have been the sporting director of Ferrari?
Well,
what kind of insights into...
The advantage is that you know the mechanism that are related to the team approach, you know the ecosystem, and therefore it's important. But at the end of the day, you need to be credible and reliable to be effective in this business.
And what about the experience from Lamborghini?
Very important to understand that there is another world, not only on the motorsport side of it, but it was relevant to understand the automotive industry better, and also to understand that, sometimes we as F1 believe that the world is only connected to Formula One, and it's not the case. We have, as I said before, we are very privileged, but the world is very big, and therefore that experience helped me also to move to Germany before, because I went to Audi, and therefore understanding there are different way of working, different way of relating with people, that for me was relevant to understand the mechanism and to manage complexity, cultural complexity. That is one of the things that you learn when you are in this job.
What car do you drive now?
Don't laugh, but I don't drive, because here in London.
Yeah, but if you
I've got a good driver, but I love a Fiat 500, not such a big car.
So that's
but
the Fiat 500, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got one of those. They are very good. What can we as an investment organization learn from Formula One, you think?
Well, I think to think big. Investment sometimes look at correctly at the parameters that are very rational. We try to give an emotional side of that is not present in the rational approach that I believe is very relevant and very important. And I think that our ecosystem is quite transversal because we have partners that belong to different areas of the business. Therefore, I would say if they are connected with that, that means that we are relevant for them. That means that in terms of bigger picture, is there a way that that people can invest on?
Mm-hmm. Well, what about the way you use data? So not necessarily for the audience and so, but just for the race itself.
Well,
what do you think is the most fascinating way you use data?
We use that to explain the performance of the car in a basic way. Not too complicated. That's always in life. The only way to be attractive is to explain in an easy way. So we create graphics from data analysis in order to explain what we are doing, in order to give the chance to our fans to understand better. That's really an incredible asset that we are already doing, and we need to improve even stronger in the future.
When you look at the teams, what do the best teams do differently in terms of the dynamics and the way they work?
Well, I think the best teams have it's logically, without getting to the financial dimension of it, are the teams that have the best organization, the best people in terms of quality, and the best process.
Okay, let's do those three. So the best people, what does it take to be great people in the teams in Formula One?
Well, first of all, I start from a soft skill approach that you have to have people that are able to manage pressure. The pressure in Formula One, whatever is your level, is huge. Can you imagine? Normally you can say, with all respect, a mechanic during the course of the race has the responsibility of changing the tires in 2 seconds, and this can give you the win or the lose of the race. So at every single role, pressure management is very important. Then teamwork approach. You need to understand alone you cannot win anything. You need to understand what is your position and your responsibility in a team that has to be very well structured. And then, of course, competences. Without that, I would say is not given for granted. But the world of Formula One is very specific, and you need to know the business very well, no matter is your role. So these are the three elements which I believe are very, very relevant. And of course, you need to love and you have the passion of this job. Otherwise, you will never do it.
How important is speed? Not on the track, but speed as an organization.
Well, speed is the essence of our job. It's not only the reference that you win because you are the fastest. You win because as an organization, you take the right decision in the minimum time that is required. Speed doesn't mean that you have to be frantic or active in your decision process making. Speed means that you need to take decision with the element that you need to make the decision, not to overstructure yourself in asking more information to delay the process of a decision. So this is what I believe is the essence of speed. Speed means to be the fastest with the elements that you need to make a decision. And that's where, as an organization, we need to anticipate the fact that the world is running very, very fast. If you do just reverse engineering, you don't have to go 20 years ago, but just 2 years ago where we were and how the things has evolved. If you're not able to react or promptly anticipate the things, you're out of the business.
How do you make sure that you don't slow down as an organization?
First of all, to make sure that every single people organization is in a record mode, to understand, listen, having the right information. Secondly, to have a process of sharing and keeping the people up to speed to what is this need. And third, that is for me the most important thing, that when you do this job is 100% full speed without any moment of relax, because you cannot take it. Therefore, it's very intense, but the intensity and the energetic approach that you should have has to be transferred to your people. Otherwise, alone is very difficult.
And how do you do that? How do you transmit that mindset?
With example.
And how, for instance, what?
I'm, the first to arrive, and I want to have immediately the meeting of the people in the way that I want. And if I'm not able to go with my rhythm, it's their problem, not mine.
Are you faster now than you were in the past?
Faster, yes, definitely so. I think that with the experience, I've learned how to manage the speed in a way that I know when I need to use the full throttle or when I need to brake. That's the good understanding of a manager that needs to understand who is the people around him. You cannot destroy your horses if the horses are not ready for that. So it's a matter of fine-tuning and having the right understanding of your ecosystem, and that will be the right thing that you have to do if you want to lead the organization for a long term.
When do you break?
Summertime. The only slow time is when we have 2 weeks on holiday in August and 2 weeks on holiday in Christmas time, and that's the only moment where I will break.
So there's only one speed, that's full speed.
100%. In Formula One, there's no doubt. But I think that all around the world, if you want to be a protagonist of what we are doing, there is only full speed.
When you look at society, are you surprised that it's not going faster?
Well, I'm surprised, not surprised, not the right word. I think that today, as a normal human being, I would love to see more quality for people that are managing the bigger decision of the world. Quality means understanding. Quality means knowledge. Quality means respect. And this is something, as a human being, I feel a little bit the bitter spirit.
So in your private life, if I were to be your wife,
Mama, I'm thanks God, I'm very happy with my wife since many years. I've got 2 children.
Are things moving fast enough at home?
Thanks God, I have a wife that is faster than me. So, but that's me. I'm just focused out of the business. I'm focused on my family and with my friends that are the same since I was in high school. So that's my legacy with my past that keep me with the feet on the ground. And for me, that is very important.
It seems to be a common denominator with Italians. Friendships go back quite far, huh?
Well, for us, is a sort of the way we were born, and our community is very important for us. And it's not a qualitative comment, it's a fact. And therefore, when you are in this position, you can be taken away because you meet all the most important people of the world. But at the end of the day, when you are alone in front of the mirror, you are yourself. And therefore, for me to be like this, I need to go back to my normal life. That is what I told you, and that's it.
How do you prioritize?
Well, priorities in terms of time, I know that, during my work day, the priority is the business. But when I'm at home, I want to give quality time to my kids are already bigger, but the kids and my wife, 1,000%.
And at work, how do you prioritize? You come in the morning. How do you prioritize what to do?
Depends.
Because you know what, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think we just are too bad at prioritizing what's important.
Well, the priority is what makes you efficient and effective. Because unfortunately, when you go, you have so many things to do, then you need to understand what are the priorities you need to bring home. Strategic, tactical, and therefore is a matter of, I'm not doing that in the morning. In the morning, I'm already on action mode. What I need to do is to make sure that I prioritize, in a different way, long term, medium term, weekly term, and I have to make sure that I have a clear understanding of what I need to bring home, what I'm doing to myself. And this is something that I use for me to be effective, is every evening I count the decision that I've taken. Is enough or not enough is not a number, but let's say, did I take decision today? In my position, in our position, every day you need to take decision. If you're not taking decision, means that either people have done your job better, that is good in a way, maybe, I don't know, but otherwise you are not performing the way they should.
How has your decision making changed?
The decision making has changed, of course, with the experience, with the fact that now hopefully I am a little more mature, not to make mistakes. Even if I put in the process of what we're doing, also mistakes is part of our life. It's by the way, also here we have a different cultural approach. If you take the example of our, approach as an Italian, mistake is always seen as, oh my God, you cannot fail, otherwise it's a disaster. You go with the American mentality, failure, if you don't fail, you are no one. Therefore, how you can mix that, is relevant. Or
how do you mix that? How do you mix that?
I think that it's just a matter of understanding the magnitude of the mistake that you're doing and try to, if you feel that you've done a mistake, how you can rectify it. As simple as that. Very simple. I don't have to overcomplicate it. If I feel that and I always say we because it's not being responsible for an organization. If some of my people are doing a mistake, it's my fault. I think that the only thing to do is to rectify it. If we see people not understanding that, then it's a matter for me to change it.
Tell me a mistake you made this year.
This year, so far, no one.
That's good.
Very straightforward. So far, I think that I was managing quite well the things.
Last year?
Last year, I got 2 mistakes. One I cannot tell you. One is related to a process that I didn't feel completely done in the proper way for an assignment here in the organization.
How much time do you spend on debriefs?
Every week, after is a part of my process of approach. I mean, every event, there has to be a debrief. That's what Formula One teach you. There is a proper debriefing of the event, in our case, where everyone has to go through a checklist of understanding if we have done the right thing or what we have done wrongly and what is the things that we need to rectify.
How do you make sure that there is a good feedback system, that people tell you the truth?
Well, there is for sure a process of sharing information. In terms of truth, it's a way that you build your strength. Knowing the different channel, you need to know, or you should try to know all what is around you and use this information at the right moment. So once again, it's a matter of deeply understanding who you can really rely 100%, who 50%, who 30%, and make sure that you have the ecosystem under control. That is relevant for sure.
So talking about the ecosystem, what's the most complex part of your job to get right?
Well, the most complex part of my job, I do believe, is to make sure that this job is divided in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
There is one area related to the relation with the broadcaster, one area related with the promoters, one area related with the teams, one area related with the FIA. Most importantly, my job is to make sure that our organization is running smoothly. So the complexity in all these kind of things is to manage the quality of the people that are working. This is my organization. Secondly, is to manage the different relations that I have to have in the different contexts that are quite complicated. So I cannot say there is only one. It's multiple, but the approach is always the same. Try to understand, try to listen, try to understand if there is something behind that I need to understand when we are talking about certain things and make a judgment.
What more do you want to accomplish at Formula One?
I think that I want two things. One, to keep the relevancy of what we're doing in a much solid foundation, create even a stronger team that we can take, this business stronger in the future. Because I've taken a commitment of 5 more years, and I will do it with full dedication. But one of the legacies I want to keep is to make sure that what we are doing now will stay for a long time, even after.
A couple of personal things. What do you mentioned you were the first one at work in the morning. When do you wake up?
I wake up at 5:30.
5:30. What do you do then?
I run.
Every day?
Yeah. If it's not ugly weather, yes, I go around 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers per day. It's the only time that I have free, so I can listen to music because I love music, and I'm trying to think what I should do during the day, and then I come back in the work here, and then I go back home if I'm not around the world, because I tell you my schedule, maybe you don't believe it, but
I believe it.
if I tell you what I did in the last months, you cannot believe it. So I go back around 8 to have dinner with my wife, and see our kids.
And when you run, what kind of music do you listen to?
Well, I normally listen to Italian music and pop music.
Right. Do you get any time to read?
Not a lot, because normally I read when I'm on the plane to try to have a strategic time for me. Because normally when I'm doing a daily job, here is always meetings. So I take the time to think strategically. So I was reading more, the history of Rome, because I love history, and the Second World War, because I'm fascinated about these kind of things. But today I take more time when I have free time, honestly, to think strategically.
Stefano, we got tens of thousands of young people listening to this, and of course probably more young people than normal, and perhaps even more female listeners than we normally have. What is your advice to young people?
Well, first of all, I'm not a professor, I'm not a teacher. I just really can share what I believe is important, that I lived on my own. I mean, when you're young, you need to think, and I think that you need to think that things in the future are becoming opportunities. And the opportunities, instead of being opportunities, the dreams will be seen as problems when you're getting older. So stay focused on being young, to think big, to think that you need to believe in yourself, not to give up, stay focused, and work hard. Work hard means you need to stay dedicated to what you love, and knowing that the competition is very tight. And very, I would say, stronger today because it's more transversal, more international. But if you believe in yourself, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it. So really believe in yourself, being humble, listen, try to understand and to learn from everyone is around you. This would be my basic, I would say, advice as a 60 years man that has been in Formula 1. And in this job that is getting older, no, let's say 1 year in Formula 1 is around 10 years of a normal life. So that's what I'm saying, as a shared experience with our friends that listen to us.
Very good. Well, you for sure exemplify all the qualities you mentioned here in terms of working hard, thinking big, and moving very fast.
Yes.
Really great talking to you. Big thanks.
Thank you, Nicolai. Thanks to you. Congratulations.
Very good.
Thank you.